How's it going, witches and warlocks and all in between? I'm the Wizard of What? Be honest. Did you forget this movie was coming out? Whenever I hear people say that, like, Disney fell off or they don't make good movies anymore, Pixar gets unfairly thrown into that category, and I really don't see why. Like with the other stuff, like the actual Disney stuff itself, like the live-action remakes or their animated films, I can kind of see why. I think the last Disney film that I actually liked was Raya and the Last Dragon. With Star Wars, it's pretty hit or miss nowadays, but I mean, like, Star Wars has always been hit or miss. With Marvel, I am a huge Marvel defender. I do not think they fell off after Endgame, but even I will admit it does have its fair share of misses, like Love and Thunder or Echo. But that does not take away from the good stuff. But with Pixar, I have no idea what people are talking about. I mean, the only miss they've had recently that I can think of is Lightyear. But even then, it's not really bad, it's just bland. Ever since the pandemic began, literally right when it began, they have made a great lineup of original movies. Emphasis on original. Onward, Soul, Luca, Turning Red, Elemental, and now I can add Elio to that list. So Elio is about a boy who wants to get abducted by aliens, and when he eventually does, the aliens confuse him for being the leader of Earth. And so then he has to lie, and then eventually there's going to be like some liar revealed and a third act breakup. So yeah, the story is not the strongest element, but you know what is the strongest element? Almost everything else. Elio himself is a very likable protagonist. Okay, his personality is not anything that new, but what really sells it for me is the acting and the animation. In the whole opening scene, you immediately connect with this kid and what he's going through. He only says one sentence, and it's towards the end of the opening scene. Everything else beforehand, you don't need to say anything. You immediately know what this kid's going through with some really neat visuals. And speaking of the visuals, this film is one of the most cinematically pleasing films in Pixar history. It is so colorful, so visually pleasing, and the camera work is amazing. Would you even call it camera work? I mean, there's not really cameras in animation, it's just like, it's like angles and whatnot. Well, depending on if it's 2D or 3D, but either way, the shots are amazing. Especially when Elio goes up into space and sees, like, well, space. And all these creatures that he's never seen before. And speaking of which, the aliens are pretty creative in this. There's one that looks like a sea slug. There's one that looks like an Egyptian automaton. Is that how you say it? Automaton? Automaton? Either way. And of course, those little worm alien things that have the lower teeth. I don't know, I have a bit of an overbite. I can't really do that properly, but you know what I mean. And honestly, those aliens are probably my favorite. They're kind of like the Daleks, where the outside is a cold, hard shell, but the inside is a wormy creature. But where the Daleks are two-dimensional characters who want to unalive everything, the ones in Elio are actually pretty interesting. Like, Elio's best friend in this is named Glorden. And like Elio, the personality isn't anything that new, but the acting is really good. I really like Elio and Glorden's chemistry in this. In fact, it's so good that near the end, I almost got choked up. And I very rarely get choked up with movies. Like, there's only been a handful of films recently that have gotten me to do that. And I always say that if a film can get me to choke up, it's doing something right. And the quote-unquote villain in this, at first seems pretty two-dimensional, but by the end we see more of his, well, ironically, humanity. Honestly, all the characters in this feel human. None of these characters ever feel like caricatures. The majority of them feel real. In fact, that's honestly the film's biggest strength. The characters. Okay, the characters, like I said, aren't the most three-dimensional, but they definitely have more personality and depth than, like, say, the Minions.
We'll be right back after these messages.
Hi! I'm Dora the Explorer! And if you like what you see, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to The Wizard of What!
And don't forget to hit that notification bell so you don't miss another upload.
Alright. And now, back to our show.
I guess I probably should talk about the animation style, and a lot of people do have an issue with that, but like, I personally don't. At first I did, but over the years I've grown to like it. In something like Luca, it works because it makes the film look like a Pixar Studio Ghibli film. It's not a very big dramatic story like The Incredibles. If they were to use the style in The Incredibles, it wouldn't really work. But Pixar has been having a lot of smaller stories recently. The only film that hasn't come out recently that hasn't used this style, apart from Lightyear, is Inside Out 2. But the main reason why the animation style doesn't bother me is because it still has its heart. The style isn't used to appeal to more preschoolers. It isn't used to say, dangle your keys in front of them. It still takes your kids seriously. But that's why I really like Elio. It's not my favorite Pixar film, but it takes your kids seriously, like any good Pixar movie should. It doesn't dangle your keys at them. Which is why I'm sad to hear that this film is failing at the box office. And I think a big reason for that is that this and Elemental were both victims of bad advertising. It's also why Transformers 1 failed at the box office too. And why it's never getting a sequel. So here's a message for you guys. If you guys want to see more original movies from Disney and Pixar, or just in general, go out and support movies like Elio. You guys did well with Sinners, that made a ton of money for an original movie, but we gotta keep that momentum coming. Show your support for these original ideas. So that's why I'm gonna give this film 7 out of 10. Hopefully Elio does make its money back. Fingers crossed. Question of the day. What is your favorite Pixar movie? I don't really have a favorite, but I guess for the sake of answering the question, I'm gonna go with The Incredibles. I really enjoy the family dynamic, the villain's a lot of fun, and that score just kicks ass. And I do find it kinda ironic that people say that this is the best Fantastic Four movie, since almost none of the others get it right, though that could be dethroned. But let me know your favorite. I'm the Wizard of What, and until next time, stay strong, my dudes.